Family supports family, or at least that's what they keep telling me until the money runs out. I never thought I'd be standing in my office's reception area, watching security escort my own parents out of the building. The look of betrayal in my mother's eyes would have crushed me 3 months ago. Now, I just felt numb. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from where it all began to unravel. My name is Lily, and until recently, I thought I had my life pretty well figured out. At 33, I'd worked my way up to department manager at Morrison & Shaw Investment Group, where I'd spent the last decade building my career. The hours were long, but the salary made it possible for me to provide a stable life for my son Tyler after my divorce 3 years ago. "Mom, can we go to Grandma and Grandpa's this weekend?" Tyler asked one Friday evening as we drove home from his after-school program. "I miss playing with Oliver and Sophie." I glanced at my phone's calendar at a red light, realizing it had been almost a month since our last family dinner. The truth was, I'd been avoiding these gatherings. My younger sister Abigail had always been the golden child, and ever since she married Brian and had her 2 kids, she'd become unbearable about her perfect family life. "Just wait until you see what Brian got me for our anniversary," she'd say, showing off some new piece of jewelry. Then she'd add with fake sympathy, "It must be so hard managing everything on your own, Lily." I didn't let it bother me, at least, that's what I told myself. I knew Abigail had always envied my career success. She'd dropped out of college to marry Brian, who worked as a mid-level insurance agent. They struggled financially, especially with 2 kids, while I'd managed to build a comfortable life for Tyler and myself. What really got under my skin was Abigail's hypocrisy. Despite her condescension, she never hesitated to call when she needed money. "Lily, Oliver needs braces, and our insurance won't cover it. Could you help us out? Just until Brian gets his commission next month. Lily, our car broke down, and we need to replace the transmission. Could you lend us $3,400? We'll pay you back by summer." She never paid back a cent, and I never asked. It was easier that way. My parents weren't much better. 3 years ago, Dad lost his job when his company downsized, and Mom had already retired from teaching due to her arthritis. They called me in tears, afraid they'd lose their house. What started as a one-time bailout turned into a monthly commitment. Every month for the past 2 years, I've sent them $1,700 to cover their utilities and other bills. I didn't mind, they were my parents, after all, but it stretched my budget thin. Between the mortgage, Tyler's private school tuition, and supporting my family, my supposedly generous salary barely covered our expenses. My ex-husband Michael and I split on decent terms. We both realized we'd grown apart, but we stayed friendly for Tyler's sake. Michael had a flexible schedule as a freelance graphic designer, so he picked Tyler up from school most days, and I'd swing by his place after work to take him home. "Honey," I prompted, realizing I hadn't answered Tyler's question about visiting his grandparents. "I'll call Grandma tomorrow morning, okay?" Tyler's face lit up. At 10, he was still too young to understand the complicated dynamics of adult relationships. Sometimes I envied his innocence. That night, after Tyler was asleep, I sat at my kitchen counter with a glass of wine, scrolling through old family photos on my phone. There was one from 5 years ago, taken at my promotion celebration dinner. I'd just been made department manager, and my whole family was there. Dad was beaming with pride, Mom was wiping away happy tears, and even Abigail managed a smile, though I now recognized the tension around her eyes. 2 weeks later, she announced she was dropping out of college to marry Brian. My finger hovered over the delete button, but I couldn't bring myself to erase the memory. Back then, I still believed in the power of family bonds, still thought love could overcome any difference. A text notification popped up on my screen. It was from Abigail. "Need to talk to you about an amazing business opportunity. Call me when you can. It's important." I took another sip of wine, already dreading what this amazing opportunity might be. Little did I know, this would be the text that would set everything in motion, the first domino in a chain that would shatter our family's carefully maintained facade. But sitting there in my quiet kitchen, watching the city lights twinkle through my apartment window, I had no idea how much my life was about to change. No idea that in 3 months, I'd be watching security escort my parents from my workplace. No idea that sometimes, the hardest choices we make aren't between right and wrong, but between self-preservation and self-sacrifice. I set down my wine glass and typed out a reply, "Sure, let's talk tomorrow." Looking back now, I wonder, if I'd known what was coming, would I have answered differently? Would I have turned off my phone, packed our bags, and taken Tyler far away from the approaching storm? But that's the thing about family drama, it's like a slow-moving train wreck. You can see it coming, but something keeps you rooted to the tracks, watching, waiting, hoping against hope that maybe this time, things will be different. They never are. The next morning, Tyler was at Michael's for their regular Saturday visit when Abigail called. Her voice buzzed with an enthusiasm that instantly set my nerves on edge. "Lily, you won't believe what Brian and I have been working on," she gushed. "We've found the perfect business opportunity. It's going to change everything for us." I pressed my fingers to my temple, feeling a headache building. "What kind of business opportunity? Can you come over for dinner tonight? We want to present it properly. Mom and Dad will be there too." That last detail made me pause. If our parents were already involved, this was more than just another of Abigail's impulse schemes. "I can't tonight. I have Tyler. Michael can keep him an extra few hours, can't he?" "Come on, Lily. This is important. It's about family." There it was again, that word. Family. The ultimate trump card in my sister's deck. I found myself agreeing, even as every instinct screamed at me to run in the opposite direction. As I hung up the phone, I caught my reflection in the kitchen window, a woman standing alone in her apartment, about to walk straight into what she knew would be a trap. But that's what family does to you. It makes you ignore the warning signs, silence the alarm bells, walk willingly into the fire. And I was about to get burned. Abigail's house looked exactly like what you'd expect from her carefully curated social media posts, a modest suburban home with pristine landscaping and seasonal decorations perfectly arranged. The reality of their financial struggles was carefully hidden behind this facade of domestic bliss. I parked my car, noting Mom and Dad's aging sedan already in the driveway. Through the front window, I could see them all gathered in the living room, heads bent together in conversation. They looked like they were plotting something. They were. "Lily." Abigail threw open the door before I could knock. Come in, come in. Brian's just making coffee." The living room fell silent as I entered. Mom and Dad sat on the couch, their faces wearing identical expressions of barely contained excitement. That's when I noticed the laptop open on the coffee table, a business presentation ready to go. "Sit down, honey," Mom patted the space beside her. "Abigail and Brian have something wonderful to share." I remained standing. "What's this about?" Brian emerged from the kitchen with a tray of coffee cups, his insurance salesman smile firmly in place. "We've been doing research," he began, setting down the tray. "There's a huge untapped market in our area for authentic Filipino fusion cuisine." "Filipino fusion?" I couldn't keep the skepticism from my voice. "My grandmother's recipes," Brian explained, clicking through his presentation. "Combined with modern American twists. Food trucks are trending, and we've found the perfect vehicle for sale." The next slide showed a price tag that made my stomach drop, $170,000. "We've done all the calculations," Abigail jumped in, her voice trembling with enthusiasm. "With your credit score and income, you could easily get a loan. We'll pay you back as soon as we start making profit." The room seemed to tilt sideways. "You want me to take out a loan for your food truck?" "It's not just a food truck," Dad leaned forward. "It's an investment in your sister's future. In this family's future." I looked at each of their faces, the hope, the expectation, the absolute certainty that I would say yes. Because that's what I always did. I was the responsible one, the successful one, the one they could always count on. "No," I said. The word hung in the air like a thunderclap. "What do you mean, no?" Abigail's voice rose an octave. "I mean no. I'm not taking out a loan for your business venture. But we've done all the research." Brian protested, frantically clicking through his slides. "Look at these projected profits. Have either of you ever run a food service business?" I asked. Do you have any experience managing inventory, staff, health regulations? We can learn, Abigail snapped. Not everyone needs fancy degrees and corporate training to be successful. Your sister has a point, Mom interjected. Sometimes practical experience is more valuable than. This isn't about degrees, I cut her off. This is about basic business sense. Do you even have a business plan? Have you calculated your operating costs? Your break-even point? You're just jealous, Abigail stood up, her face flushing. You can't stand the idea that we might be successful on our own. You love having us depend on you, don't you? It makes you feel superior. Abigail, Dad warned, but his tone lacked conviction. No, let her speak, I said, a lifetime of suppressed anger finally bubbling to the surface. Let's talk about dependency. Let's talk about the thousands of dollars you've borrowed and never repaid. Let's talk about how I've been supporting Mom and Dad for the past 2 years while you post about your perfect life on Instagram. That's different, Mom protested. We needed help after your father lost his job. You could afford it. Could I? Do you have any idea how tight my budget is? Between Tyler's school, the mortgage, and supporting all of you. Oh, here we go, Abigail rolled her eyes. Poor successful Lily, sacrificing everything for her ungrateful family. At least I have a real family, not a broken home. The room went deadly quiet. Get out, Brian whispered to me, wrapping an arm around Abigail's shaking shoulders. I think you should leave. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something, to acknowledge how cruel Abigail's words were. They sat in silence, avoiding my eyes. Fine, I grabbed my purse. But this is the last time. I'm done being your ATM. Lily, wait, Dad called as I reached the door. Just think about it. Sleep on it. This could be a great opportunity for all of us. I turned back one last time. When was the last time any of you asked how I was doing? How Tyler was doing? When was the last time you cared about anything other than what I could give you? The silence that followed was answer enough. The next few weeks were a blur of ignored calls and increasingly desperate text messages. From Abigail, you're just being selfish. You'll regret this when we're successful. From Mom, your sister is heartbroken. How could you be so cruel? From Dad, we're family. Families help each other. Distant relatives called to express their concern. Mutual friends reported that Abigail was spreading stories about my jealousy and bitterness. The worst part was explaining to Tyler why we weren't going to Sunday dinners anymore. Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at us? He asked one evening, pushing his pasta around his plate. No, honey, I lied. We're taking a little break from family dinners. Because of Aunt Abigail's restaurant? Food truck, I corrected automatically. And yes, partly. Sometimes adults disagree about things, and they need space from each other. Like you and Dad? My heart clenched. Sort of. But remember, even though Dad and I aren't together anymore, we both love you very much. Nothing will ever change that. Tyler nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. He was too young to understand the complexities of adult relationships, but old enough to sense the tension. The monthly transfers to my parents' account continued, though Mom's usual thank you calls became shorter and colder. Just business transactions now, no questions about our lives, no grandmotherly concern for Tyler. Then came the Instagram posts. Abigail, usually meticulous about maintaining her perfect family image, began sharing cryptic messages about toxic people and ungrateful siblings. Her followers, mostly other suburban moms who only knew her carefully curated version of reality, flooded the comments with supportive messages and heart emojis. One Sunday morning, I woke up to a series of missed calls from unknown numbers. Abigail had shared my personal phone number in a private Facebook group, painting me as the villain who was destroying her dreams out of spite. The final straw came when Tyler came home from a playdate with tears in his eyes. Oliver said his mom told him we're not real family anymore because you're mean and selfish. I sat on the floor of my bedroom that night, surrounded by old family photos. There we were at my college graduation, all smiles and pride. Another from Tyler's christening, Abigail beaming as his godmother. Christmas mornings, birthday parties, summer barbecues, moments that seemed genuine at the time but now felt like elaborate performances. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. The electricity bill is higher this month. Could you send an extra $200? No, how are you? No, how's my grandson? Just another withdrawal request from the Bank of Lily. I opened my banking app and stared at the recurring transfer scheduled for tomorrow. 2 years of monthly payments, totaling over $40,000. Money that could have gone into Tyler's college fund. Money that could have bought us a bigger apartment, closer to his school. Money that disappeared into the black hole of my family's endless needs. My finger hovered over the cancel button. What kind of daughter abandons her parents? Abigail's voice echoed in my head. Family supports family, Dad's voice joined in. You're being selfish, Mom's voice added to the chorus. I thought about Tyler, watching his mother constantly give and give until there was nothing left. What kind of example was I setting? That love means letting people take advantage of you? That family bonds are measured in dollar signs? I pressed cancel. The screen asked if I was sure I wanted to cancel the recurring payment. Yes, I was sure. The relief was immediate and overwhelming, like putting down a heavy burden I'd carried for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand straight. Tomorrow, there would be consequences. Tomorrow, there would be angry calls and accusatory texts. Tomorrow, I would be the ungrateful daughter, the cruel sister, the family traitor. But tonight, for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The first sign that something was wrong came at 6:47 a.m. My phone exploded with notifications, 15 missed calls from Mom, 23 text messages, and a flurry of Facebook alerts. There must be some mistake with the bank, Mom's first message read, timestamp 5:30 a.m. Lily, call me immediately, followed at 5:45. By 6:15, the tone had changed. How could you do this to us? We're your parents. I silenced my phone and focused on getting Tyler ready for school. He was halfway through his cereal when someone started pounding on our apartment door. Lily. Open this door right now. Dad's voice boomed through the hallway. Tyler's spoon clattered against his bowl. Grandpa. Finish your breakfast in your room, honey, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. Take your tablet. Watch some videos. Once Tyler was safely in his room, I opened the door to find both my parents in the hallway. Mom's hair was uncombed, Dad still in his pajama bottoms under his coat. What do you think you're doing? Dad demanded, trying to push past me into the apartment. I blocked the doorway. Keep your voice down. Tyler's getting ready for school. We couldn't sleep all night, Mom's voice trembled. We checked the account over and over, hoping it was just a glitch. How could you cancel the transfer? We're counting on that money. I've been supporting you for 2 years, I kept my voice steady. That's over $40,000. I think we're done. Done. Dad's face reddened. You can't be done with your family. Watch me. What about our bills? Mom's voice rose hysterically. The mortgage? Your father's medications. Not my problem anymore. Find another solution. There is no other solution. Dad shouted. We'll lose everything. Mr. Peterson. My elderly neighbor poked her head out. Some of us are trying to sleep. Inside, I hissed, pulling my parents into the apartment before they could cause more of a scene. Tyler's room is down the hall. If you can't keep your voices down, you need to leave. They followed me to the kitchen, where Tyler's half-eaten breakfast still sat on the counter. The sight of his dinosaur cereal bowl seemed to momentarily deflate them. Lily, Mom tried a different approach, her voice honey-sweet. We're not asking for much. Just help us until your father finds another job. He hasn't even been looking, I countered. And you've been taking art classes instead of finding part-time work. You're both capable of earning income. At our age. Dad scoffed. Yes, at your age. Plenty of people work in their 60s. You've just found it more convenient to rely on me. Mom's face crumpled. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Let's talk about what you've done for me lately. When was the last time you asked about my life? My job? Your grandson? All you care about is your monthly allowance. That's not true. Mom protested. No? What grade is Tyler in? Who's his best friend? What sports does he play? You don't know because you don't care. They exchanged guilty glances. Get out, I said quietly. And don't come back until you're ready to be actual grandparents instead of parasites. You'll regret this, Dad's voice was low, dangerous. When you need us. I haven't needed you for years. You're the ones who need me, remember. After they left, I found Tyler hiding in his closet with his tablet, headphones clamped firmly over his ears. Smart kid. The real storm broke later that day. Abigail launched a full-scale social media assault, sharing carefully edited screenshots of text conversations, photos of gifts I'd given that she claimed were bribes to keep her quiet about my neglect of our parents. My sister makes 6 figures while our parents struggle to afford food, she posted. What kind of person does that? #toxic family, #narcissist, #pray for them. Her followers ate it up, sharing and commenting with righteous indignation. Some even found my professional LinkedIn profile and left nasty comments. But Abigail had forgotten one crucial detail: I had receipts too. Years of text messages begging for money. Emails promising repayment that never came. Bank statements showing thousands in transfers. I spent my lunch break creating a simple spreadsheet: dates, amounts, promised repayment dates, actual repayment 0, across the board. Then I started responding to her followers. Interesting post, @suburban_mom_bear. Here's a complete record of money I've given my sister over the past 5 years. Notice any patterns? #receipts, #truth hurts. The tide turned quickly. Abigail's perfectly curated image crumbled as people did the math. How had an insurance agent's wife afforded those designer bags? Those luxury vacations? That kitchen remodel? She deleted her posts, but screenshots had already been shared in local mom groups. Her carefully constructed social media empire was collapsing. Then came the workplace ambush. I was in a quarterly review meeting when my assistant's face appeared in the conference room window, mouthing emergency. I excused myself to find my parents in the reception area, Mom crying theatrically, Dad red-faced and demanding. Ms. Morrison, our security guard approached. Should I escort them out? I looked at my parents, really looked at them. Mom's mascara-streaked face, Dad's rumpled clothes. They looked smaller somehow, diminished without the power they'd held over me for so long. Yes, I said. And please document this incident. I may need to file a restraining order. You ungrateful bitch. Dad's shout echoed through the lobby. After everything we've done for you. Heads turned. Phones came out, recording. Keep walking, I told the security guards, turning my back on my parents' continued shouts. Back in my office, I called Michael. I need a favor, I said. Can Tyler stay with you this weekend? My family situation is escalating. Michael didn't hesitate. Of course. Mom and Dad are visiting anyway. They've been asking about him. I felt a lump in my throat. Michael's parents, who had every right to distance themselves after our divorce, still remembered Tyler's favorite cookies, called him on his birthday, attended his school events. They were more grandparents to him than my own parents had ever been. That evening, I changed all my passwords, installed security cameras at my apartment, and documented every harassing message and social media post. I spoke with HR about the workplace incident and filed a police report, just in case. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I wrote an email. Dear Mom, Dad, and Abigail. I've kept records of every financial transaction, every threatening message, and every attempt at manipulation. The next time you try to contact me at work, spread lies about me online, or attempt to turn my son against me, these records will be shared with your employers, your church, and your social media followers. I've also documented Abigail's attempts to use Tyler's cousins to hurt him. If this continues, my lawyer will be discussing alienation of affection with Child Protective Services. This is your only warning. Lily. I BCC'd Michael's lawyer, who had helped with our amicable divorce and remained a friend. The response was immediate. Abigail's social media accounts went dark. The harassing messages stopped. My parents' number disappeared from my call log. In the silence that followed, I waited for guilt to set in. Wasn't this what they had trained me to feel? Guilt for saying no, guilt for putting myself first, guilt for demanding respect? Instead, I felt light. Free. That weekend, while Tyler played video games with his cousins at Michael's house, I deep cleaned my apartment. In a box at the back of my closet, I found the Mother's Day cards Abigail and I had made as children. World's best mom, they proclaimed in crayon and glitter. I threw them away. In my phone's hidden folder, I found the screenshots I'd been saving, Abigail's tearful money requests, Mom's guilt trip texts, Dad's angry demands. I compiled them into a single document and saved it to my cloud drive. Not to use as a weapon, but as a reminder. A reminder of why I'd finally said enough. Monday morning, I walked into work with my head high. My team had witnessed my parents' meltdown, but instead of embarrassment, I felt oddly validated. The masks had finally dropped. The truth was in the open. My assistant handed me a stack of messages. Your sister called 6 times on Friday, she said. I told her you were in meetings. If she calls again, tell her to contact my lawyer. The words felt foreign on my tongue, but right. Boundaries weren't just lines in the sand, they were walls I was finally strong enough to build. That evening, I picked Tyler up from Michael's. How was your weekend, buddy? Great. Grandma Miller taught me how to make snickerdoodles, and Grandpa Miller took me fishing. Real grandparents. Real love. No strings attached. That's wonderful, honey. Mom. His voice was serious. Are we going to be okay? I looked at my son in the rearview mirror, this perceptive, resilient child who had watched his mother learn to stand up for herself. Yes, Tyler. We're going to be more than okay. We're going to be free. 1 month after cutting ties with my family, I thought the worst was behind us. I was wrong. It was parents' night at Tyler's school. I was examining his art project when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Oh, Tyler's such a talented boy. It's a shame he doesn't get to see his grandparents anymore. My mother stood there, speaking tearfully to Tyler's teacher. His father and I worry so much, she continued, pretending not to notice me. Since the divorce, Lily's been so unstable. Working such long hours, cutting off family support. The teacher's eyes darted between us, uncomfortable. Mom, my voice was ice. What are you doing here? She turned, feigning surprise. Oh. Lily. I was just sharing my concerns about Tyler's home environment. As his grandmother, I have a right. You lost that right, I cut her off, pulling out my phone. Shall I call security, or will you leave on your own? See? Mom's voice rose dramatically. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So aggressive, so paranoid. Other parents were staring now. I could feel their judgment, their whispers. Then a clear voice rang out, actually, Mrs. Bradford, you're not on Tyler's approved visitor list. I'll have to ask you to leave. Ms. Parker, the school principal, stood in the doorway, her expression firm. I have all the documentation from Tyler's parents regarding approved family contacts, she continued. If you don't leave immediately, I'll be forced to call the police. Mom's face crumpled, but I caught the flash of fury in her eyes before she fled. That night, I sat Tyler down for a difficult conversation. Honey, you know how we've been taking a break from Grandma and Grandpa? He nodded solemnly. Well, that break is going to be permanent. They haven't been very nice to us lately. I know, he said, surprising me. Oliver told me Aunt Abigail says mean things about you on the computer. And he hesitated. I heard Grandma at school today. She was lying about you. My heart broke and swelled simultaneously. How do you feel about that? He thought for a moment. Sad. But also, relief? Like when you have a stomachache and it finally goes away. Out of the mouths of babes. The next week brought unexpected news. First, a promotion at work. My handling of the family crisis had impressed upper management. Then, an email from my cousin Jennifer. Thought you should know, Abigail's food truck business crashed before it started. She and Brian took out high-interest loans thinking you'd eventually give in. They're facing bankruptcy. Your parents are talking about selling their house. Everyone's blaming you. I deleted the email without responding. Their financial decisions were no longer my concern. I used part of my bonus to put a deposit on a new apartment, closer to Tyler's school and Michael's house. As we packed our old place, we turned it into a game, sorting items into you keep, donate, and in memories piles. Among the memories, I found the family photo albums. Tyler and I sat on the floor, looking through them together. Who's that? He asked, pointing to a picture of a young woman holding a baby. That's me, holding you. Aunt Abigail took this picture. You look sad. I studied the photo. He was right. Even while smiling at the camera, cradling my newborn son, there was a tension around my eyes. The weight of family expectations already bearing down on my shoulders. I was sad then, I admitted. But I'm not anymore. We created a new album that night, filling it with photos of our chosen family, Michael and his parents, Tyler's school friends, my supportive coworkers, our kind neighbors. The final text came a week later from an unknown number. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy. I blocked the number without responding and turned back to Tyler's homework. Mom, he said, erasing an answer, is it okay that I don't miss them? Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt Abigail? Of course it's okay, I pulled him close. Sometimes the healthiest thing we can do is let go. 6 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Our new apartment was filled with Tyler's artwork and free from the weight of toxic memories. My career flourished without constant family-related interruptions. Michael and I had developed an even better co-parenting relationship, and the Millers continued to be the loving grandparents Tyler deserved. One Sunday morning, as Tyler and I walked to our favorite breakfast spot, we passed my mother leaving the grocery store. Our eyes met briefly before she quickly looked away, hurrying to her car. Mom. Tyler squeezed my hand. Are you okay? I realized I was smiling. Yes, honey. I'm perfectly okay. And I was. The sight of her didn't trigger guilt or pain anymore. She was just another person now, someone from my past who had lost the power to hurt me. That night, I added a final photo to our new family album, Tyler and me at his science fair, both of us beaming with genuine joy. No tension, no hidden sadness, no weight of obligations. Just love, freely given and received. Freedom, it turns out, was the ultimate revenge.